Nintendo fucked it all up, messed it up for everybody. Thanks, Miyamoto. They raised the prices of everything, or they are raising the prices of everything, and you know what? Microsoft was like, hey, me too. And everybody's gonna forget that Nintendo is the ones who started this whole price hike thing, and they're all blaming it on tariffs, blaming it on rising costs in the market, which is complete bullshit. They're inflating the costs themselves on purpose. I think it's a lot of money laundering, if you want my opinion, my take on it. Meanwhile, all these companies are seeing record profits and also record layoffs. They're absolutely evil. I can't believe anybody actually defends these corporations. They don't love you. They don't love the games that they make. They only make them because they make money. Why else would they just load microtransactions into everything? It's not to make bigger and better games, because the games aren't bigger and better. I mean, some of them are bigger, but I'd say that that is not really a good thing. Look at the value. Open world games are going to be the most expensive games now. They're going to be $100. I guarantee it. Because they're going to be like, well, it's got 200 hours plus, 1,000 hours plus of game time. So we're going to charge way more for this game. Even though everything in it is packed into it just to fill it out, and it's all bullshit.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. I hope you're all doing absolutely excellent, and if you are, I am sorry I'm going to be putting a little bit of a damper on your day if you haven't heard the news yet. If you're already not doing absolutely excellent, might be making things a little bit worse. Xbox, massive price hikes. Now, given the small amount of distribution partners and the amount of major platform holders we have in the games industry, which is really the big three, technically four if you include Steam as a digital platform, it was always a guarantee that with these
It seems like I'm going to be using GOG more and more in the future.
tariffs, the prices would be passed on to the consumer. But these price hikes are still out of this world no matter where I think you stand on the matter. And we're going to go through all the information today on what's going on with Xbox, and I'll deliver some thoughts after I lay out the news. So ladies and
I'm completely jumping out of the AAA game industry. Completely jumping out, because there's no way that I'm paying these prices for any game, even a game that I want, a 10 out of 10 game that I've been waiting for years and years and years. Not going to be getting it. Not going to be buying it for $80. Barely wanted to buy it for $70. Barely wanted to buy it for $60. Oblivion Remastered, $50. I'm here for that. Let's go. Let's go with stuff like that, games like that. That size, that type of game doesn't have to be like super polished, perfect game, because a lot of times they end up being boring slop.
gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Xbox, we talk about it a lot, and certainly defining Duke will be very interesting this week. Consider subscribing. So the information comes from the official Xbox support page, where they write, pricing updates announced May 1st, 2025. As of May 1st, we have adjusted recommended retailer pricing for our consoles and controllers worldwide. We also expect to adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season to $80. Those titles purchased on the Xbox Store have the benefit of Xbox Play Anywhere, allowing players to buy once and play on console and PC at no additional cost. We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given market conditions and the rising cost of development.
Bullshit. That is lies. Rising cost of development. It's because you're padding out your games, and then you're putting more and more microtransactions into everything. More and more games with microtransactions. More live services. More live services. Rising cost. Get out of here with that. We all know what's going on, except for the people who don't actually pay attention to the news and the corporations, and they just eat up all this slop that comes out of Kotaku and IGN and PC Gamer and all of that. And hey, Polygon just shut down. I'm gonna be making a video about that. Or they didn't shut down, they got sold.
Looking ahead, we continue to focus on offering more ways to play games across any screen and ensuring value for Xbox players. Now, over on IGN, they took the pricing charts and compared and contrasted for the US. Xbox Series S at 512 gigabytes.
I already wasn't likely gonna be buying an Xbox, but now it's pretty much 0% chance that I'm gonna be buying an Xbox, probably ever.
Is no longer a $300 system. It is up to $379. An Xbox Series S with 1 terabyte of memory space is now up to $430.
Everybody thinks that Nintendo was the first one to do this, by the way. They were not. Actually, nobody was paying attention because nobody was buying it, I think. That the Meta Quest went up in price $100 like a year ago for the same reasons. But now they have these tariffs that they can use as an excuse in the stock market. Like, now is the time, everybody raise their prices quick. If we all raise the prices at the same time, then nobody can bitch about it. Nobody can not buy your games. So let's all do it.
The Xbox Series X digital version is up to $549, or really $550. Xbox Series X up $100 from its $500 launch price, brand new, to $600. Xbox Series X 2TB Galaxy Special Edition is now up to $730, making the PS5 Pro look a little cheap in comparison, which in turn is kind of competing with the PS5 Pro price tag. Okay, Xbox wireless controllers, the core, your standard one, $65. The colored ones, $70. You have the special edition wireless controllers, $80. Limited edition wireless controllers, $90, up from $80. The Elite Series 2 controllers, the core version, goes up to $150. The Elite Wireless Controller Series 2 in full goes up $30 to $200. The stereo headset is at $65, and the wireless headset goes up $10 to $120. The real sticker shock here, I think, is the Xbox Series X base pricing and the $80 games on top of it. We'll talk about that.
I remember back in the day when we were getting toward the end of the console cycles, they'd start dropping prices of their Xboxes and PlayStations and Wiis and start introducing the new versions, the slim versions. And everything was dropped in price because they're getting ready to release the new consoles. Not this time. Now we're getting close to the end, and they're raising the prices of everything, probably so they can make the new consoles the same price as these raised prices and be like, we made them cheaper. The new consoles are cheaper now, even though they're actually raised quite a bit. They'll be like, oh, it's only $100 more than the Xbox Series X to get the X2. See, that's cheap.
Still some more information to go over. Will the price of existing games change? You know, like your Avowed or whatever. No, this will affect some new first-party games starting this holiday season.
I guarantee you games that were not priced at $80 that were coming out soon are now going to be priced at $80. I bet that the new Madden game is going to be $80. 100% that game's going to be $80. Call of Duty, probably going to be $80.
So your Call of Duty, what else is coming out at the end of this year? Outer Worlds 2. These are probably going to be your $80 video games from Xbox. Gears of War, E-Day.
All of the quadruple A games.
Whether that's early 26 or late 25. And then they also say which games are increasing in price. We will adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season to $80. This update will apply to physical and digital versions. That said, different games and expansions will continue to be offered at a variety of price points. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. Again, of course, with everything going on with the global economy, none of this is generally surprising that it's happening.
What if, okay, scenario, what if a game that they know nobody's gonna buy at $80 gets released at $80, right? And they're like, okay, nobody's buying it at $80. We'll put it on sale for $70, and people will be like, okay, it's on sale now. Let's buy it. That's gonna happen a lot. Until it stops happening, of course, when people get used to paying $80. People got used to paying $70. It's only been about 5 years, but people got used to paying $70. Nobody's been really bitching about it.
And even the price tags was that immediate sticker shock when I'm like, okay, like this sucks, and I guess I kind of get it, but at the same time, you look at Xbox's situation and its competition, you're seeing where they're willing to bite the bullet and where they're trying to inch things forward here.
And like, they've been making such wrong financial decisions, and then for them to price hike everything, it just seems like another wrong decision, and it's pushing more and more people into Game Pass. So we're just gonna be terminally renting. We're just gonna be renting forever. They don't want us to actually own games.
Here, and really assessing Xbox as a brand is, I think, required to fully unpack just how crazy of a decision this is, because Xbox is doing this while their hardware is selling historically bad.
Okay, right. You take people like me, right, who buy games like once, twice, 3 times a year. Okay? You price me completely out, but I still want to play games, right? That's where Game Pass comes in. And instead of me paying $60 to $120 a year, they're getting me on $15, $20 a month, which is a lot more money, and they can get me into their ecosystem, and I'm more likely to actually buy other things or spend more money on things in the Xbox ecosystem. And it inflates their numbers for Game Pass to be like, this game was successful. That's the future we're headed for, where they don't want us owning games, they want us renting forever.
Now, even in a pretty successful quarter that they just reported the earnings results for yesterday, Xbox content services drive 5% overall Microsoft gaming revenue growth, but the hardware sales were down 6%. And you look at that single percentage dip, not the end of the world, right? But when you start to look at Xbox sales figures overall, 9 Meters has a great write-up here. Xbox sales hit rock bottom after historical 2024 decline. They write, Xbox faces major challenges as its console sales hit record lows in 2024, and it's not looking any better for
Probably because I can go get an Amazon Fire Stick, or I can play xCloud on my phone. I have Game Pass on my TV. Like, you're making Xbox available everywhere. No wonder people aren't buying Xboxes.
25. The gaming giant sold an estimated 2.7 million units in the US market during 24, which, just for context, by the way, this is their biggest market. This is their best market. This is where they sell the most. So 2.7 million units in the US market, making it the worst full year performance in Xbox history. The numbers in Europe are staggeringly worse, with an estimated 290,000 units sold over the year. When you add up the two, you get just under 3
Okay, they say Xbox history, but there isn't really much of a history of Xbox. Xbox has barely been around for more than 20 years.
million units sold, which paints a very worrying picture for Microsoft's hardware in their gaming division. Those numbers are down from 2023, which was also a tough year, when Xbox sold 3.8 million units in the US and 550,000 in Europe for a combined 4.35 million. And you might remember during that stretch of time for Xbox, this is where they were actually having exclusives that they could market. Some of them didn't pan out well, of course, like Redfall. You had games like Hi-Fi Rush, Shadow Drop, amazing video game. You had Starfield, which I know the post-launch is a...
They didn't advertise, they didn't market Hi-Fi Rush very much. And then they shut it down. So, like, they failed epically. Microsoft is just terrible at making decisions. They're good at making decisions that makes them money, like, right now. But when it comes to the future, they're not good at it at all.
Whole different conversation, but pre-launch was building up a lot of hype and was then labeled as like the biggest day one Game Pass game Xbox had ever had. It just really pushed a lot of sales. It seemed like things were trending in the right direction. Even then, it's considered a tough year. They say this is a nearly 10% drop year over year in units sold, leading to Microsoft reporting a 42% drop in Xbox hardware revenue for the quarter ending in June 2024 in recent months. So they're doing this price increase where the crazy reality, right, is that if you bought an Xbox Series X at launch, $500, that was the cheapest time to buy it. That was the, outside of like holiday sales that happened afterwards, that was the cheapest time to buy it. It is now a $600 unit. It's a 5-year-old machine that is $100 more to purchase. Wherever you are, that is awful wherever you stand.
Buy a PC for $600. Just do that. It's going to be as powerful, if not more powerful, especially if you get used parts or like just a used GPU and all new parts for the rest of it. It's going to be more powerful, and you can do so much more than just watch movies and play games.
That sucks. And they're doing this at the time where they're having a historical decline in hardware. And that's because when they ripped out the Band-Aid with their multi-platform push, everyone was asking the same question. Why own an Xbox? And I think they've provided some decent reasons. Xbox Play Anywhere has been a bit of a game changer for me. Just being able to play on the backbone with my phone and then play it on my PC and then play it on my console. That kind of ecosystem, it sounds gimmicky at first, but it really is a game changer to be able to pick up and literally play anywhere. But I lay all that out because otherwise I think Game Pass is there, but Xbox is really more concerned about what's happening beyond their own hardware because it's not growing. It's not growing. So I almost think like the price of the hardware matters a little bit less in the terms of the conversation I want to have, because while it is a bit of a sticker shock, literally nobody is buying Xbox hardware right now.
I don't even know anybody with an Xbox except for like 2 people. My brother has an Xbox, doesn't use it, doesn't buy games for it. just watches movies on it on YouTube pretty much. I have a friend who has an Xbox, and he works all the time. He plays his Xbox like maybe 3 times a month. Otherwise, same thing, just watches YouTube, just watches movies. That's what gaming consoles have turned into.
It is on a steep decline, and they will absolutely be the first company to bow out completely out of the hardware race as far as I'm concerned. Now, the reason I bring all this up is because Xbox is doing bad in hardware, but they are doing really good in software since that multi-platform pivot. For example, you look at the PlayStation Store right now, the top 10 games in the United States, most of these are Xbox games. Oblivion at number 2, right behind Fortnite. Forza Horizon 5 at number 3. Call of Duty is right there. And then Minecraft is in the number 10 slot, thanks to, I imagine, the push the movie gave it.
You know, all these companies are working together to raise the prices of everything so they can make more and more money, which in turn, by the way, is going to make things worse. It's going to inflate prices of development even more. They're going to bloat the games even more, you know, all while they're seeing record profits. And all it's going to take is just one company to come in and be like, we're going to make everything $10 cheaper. We're going to undercut all of your prices. And that's going to crash everything. And it's going to explode that company into stardom. And I think it might end up being GOG.
So, Xbox has 4 games in the top 10 best-selling games on PlayStation. And they also reported with their Q3 earnings results that they were a top publisher in the industry.
It's making them a lot of money to do that, to make their games multi-platform right now. But how is that getting people to buying the hardware right now? It doesn't. You're pushing people out by trying to make a quick buck now. And it's just making things so much worse. And they don't know how to get out of it. I see so many companies do this.
And it's showing. They're selling a lot of games. And in the mix here is also Indiana Jones, which just came out on PlayStation 5 and is sadly getting buried. That is like one of the best games Xbox has published. And it's just like between that and Hi-Fi Rush, it bugs me to no end. I'm like, dude, like why are people, the good stuff Xbox does publish is like right there. Please play it.
Probably because it's too expensive. And also, it feels like an Xbox game. Like Forza also, like when you play it, it doesn't feel like a PlayStation game. It feels like an Xbox game. There's just some kind of feel to it. The way the menus are, the way it plays, the way it feels, the way it looks, it all just screams Xbox. Even on Steam, it was weird.
Xboxes are manufactured in China. And right now, there is a 145% tariff on that stuff. So, yeah, like these prices.
I'm pretty sure China just dropped most, if not all, of their tariffs on the United States. So all of this is just gonna be all messed up anyway. Like, oh, well, the tariffs are gone. Well, the market prices are still really high. We're gonna leave everything expensive.
We're going to jump anyway. There was just a no doubter about all of that. But I feel like it's less important because most people are buying Xbox games, not hardware. And I think Xbox is trying to use the kind of hardware conversation as a way to really cover for the $80 games that they want, because now's an opportunity for them to really collect. Now,
if you buy 5 full price $80 games, that's almost as much as making it, or as much as selling an Xbox. They just have to sell you on 5 $80 full price games, and they'll make that up. But they have to do that to everybody. Good luck. I'm not buying a single $80 game. Ever. Not happening.
To be completely honest, as someone who reviews every major first-party release from Xbox, there's only one game this generation I would have paid $80 for, and it was Indiana Jones. Absolutely, I would have paid $80 for that. That was a top 3 game last year.
I wouldn't have. Still not gonna. I'll pay $30 for it.
And just like one of my favorite licensed games, it was absolutely awesome. Otherwise, though, like everything they've put out this generation, Hi-Fi Rush, it's an amazing game. $80. I don't think it was an $80 game, like a $60 game. Sure, but $80, I don't know. But when I look at games I have reviewed from them, say a full price game, I'm not going to throw like South of Midnight in the conversation or Hellblade. We'll have to tackle that as we go along the generation. But when I look at something like Avowed, right? Avowed, to me, like I was so disappointed with that. And I'm like, that has been kind of a mark of some of the quality of Xbox's publishing over the last couple of years. It's like this low 80s open critic game that's like,
no, you're wrong. It's a 9 out of 10 game, Mr. Maddie Plays. Everybody was telling me that. I was getting so many ads saying that this was the greatest game of all time. This sets a new standard for RPGs.
But for like first party, you should be putting out the best the industry has to offer. And if you're moving up to $80, the consumer expectations need to rise with that. Because I say this just for myself, $80 games are insane. Insane.
It is completely insane. $70 games were insane. Actually, you want my opinion? $60 games were insane. I think $50 is the sweet spot. Forever. Even if the prices of the development raises, make smaller games. We don't have to have $1.3 million plus games coming out every single month that end up failing, and like only one of them end up succeeding per year. We don't need that. Just make smaller games. The reason people aren't playing smaller games is because there aren't any. And then when one just drops, it's out of nowhere, a game that nobody wants to play really, and it's among the giant quadruple A slop that everybody keeps hearing about, and all the other games get buried. Sometimes we get some breakout games like Space Marine 2.
Only a few games I would make that exception for. And if Xbox wants to go for it, then Fable better be a Game of the Year contender. Outer Worlds 2.
I don't see it. I see the new Fable being the worst of the mainline Fable franchise. I can see it being not a bad game, but I could see it definitely being worse than Fable 3. People did not like Fable 3. And I don't even think that's a bad game. I think that's like a 7 out of 10 game. And I think the new Fable's not gonna surpass that.
Better not just be like more Outer Worlds. Like, it better be more than that. Like, that is the expectation that comes with this price jump. Just because they say at the front of everything, oh, well, ballooning game budgets are happening. I'm sorry, but that video I just made yesterday about gaming and Expedition 33 and budgeting and Clear Vision, and it's a team of 30-ish people, like, that is such an exposure of the games industry's narrative that, like...
Yeah, I've been saying this. Like, we don't need these teams with 14,000 developers involved. Quadruple A! $300 million down the drain. We don't need that. We need these like 30 developers who actually are passionate about making games, not trying to make as much money as possible. And it'll be good eatings.
Oh, this wasn't possible. Yes, it is. You just got to budget accordingly. You got to manage accordingly. But I look at, I'm sorry, I got to single out. I look at projects like South of Midnight, which I played to completion. And when that game's narrative was inconclusive and it spent so much time meandering for a 10-hour game, and it was like a 6-7 year development cycle, I'm like, a lot of these companies just take Xbox for a complete ride from my point of view. I'm sorry, but they do. Hellblade taking as long as it did. I'm just like, dude, that was a part of the Xbox Series X announcement, and it comes out and I beat it in like a day? It was that short? I mean, this is what's going to happen. These are the conversations that are going to happen because you're going to $80. And when you have some of the best stuff the industry put out last week, and Xbox was publishing one of them in Oblivion Remastered at $50, it's just such an uphill battle to...
I think Oblivion ended up being way more successful than they thought it was going to be, actually. Because this one, it came out swinging. And like, they thought it was going to be successful, I'm sure. But not. I think it was probably about 3 times more successful than they figured.
Try to push this price point. So there's that angle. Next gen consoles. Xbox's handheld that leaked that's apparently coming this year. Oh boy, they were reportedly in a good price point, I thought. But now, because of the tariffs and everything, I think that sucker is going to jump and become that kind of ROG Ally price point where, like, the enthusiast will buy it. It'll sell a couple 100,000 units, and that's it. Again, if you're looking at the Series X Galaxy Edition being, like, almost PS5 Pro levels of pricing, that's absurd. Because now I'm like, if Xbox does a straight-up box for your living room for next-gen consoles, and it's apparently their most powerful box yet, that thing is $1,000. Easily. Easily. I'm just telling y'all right now, okay? I was always a console diehard. PC is the way to go. Mid-tier PC can get you so far.
Even just low-tier PC, even like a mini PC for $200 can get you almost as far as a console nowadays. Especially with all this like frame generation and stuff like that. Like, you aren't going to be playing on ultra graphics, but you'll still be playing these games. You won't be missing out on nothing.
Nowadays. So far. And you can access your Xbox games there. And I think that's a lot of why Xbox is willing to yank off this Band-Aid. We got to talk about Game Pass. Look, Game Pass, cloud streaming, these are major growing factors at Xbox. And I think they're kind of partially banking on the idea of like, yeah, we're shoving you out of the console idea. But if you want to play something on Xbox, I mean, look, I stream a ton of games to this thing right here. I was playing Oblivion Remastered on this thing. I was playing Towerborn on this thing in bed with the backbone. Like, I know I'm not everybody, but there is an argument to be made that like I'm engaging with Xbox a lot, even if I'm not doing it the traditional way. And so I do think like Game Pass becomes more appealing if the price holds. It's like, dang, I can get your first party games for like $20. You look at this month, right? You get Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and you get Oblivion Remastered for the price of $20. If you got all the time in the world and you play both of those in a single month, what a steal.
Yeah, and that's exactly why Xbox is getting pummeled, is because you can buy these games, basically, well, rent them, for $20 a month rather than buying them. And like, what's the point? What's the point? Like, all you're doing is putting these games on here to keep people invested in Game Pass, not to put more money into Game Pass. Which, by the way, I can see that happening in the future, where they're gonna start doing like these crazy quadruple A exclusives if you pay extra money for Game Pass.
Right? So that is going to drive a lot of people to Game Pass. But it also, I think, might drive a lot of people away. Like, fuck that, man. I'm not spending this much on Xbox stuff. But I think the reality is that, and I don't say this in defense of them because it all just sucks, is that other companies are making similar moves. I just don't think anyone's ripped off the Band-Aid quite on the level Xbox just did. Let's look at PlayStation real quick. Prices just jumped in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand for the PS5 itself. They kept the PS5 disc drive at a similar price point. But also, PlayStation jumped the...
Yeah, they kept the disc drive at a similar price point because they know that nobody's buying that. So what's the point of raising the price of something that nobody's buying to make sure that absolutely nobody buys it?
PS Plus subscription service in Canada. Now, granted, for PlayStation, I think the reason they're trying to dance around this as long as they can is compared to Xbox, where they have like a PC base and they're putting their games on PlayStation, they're going to put their games on Switch. This is a moment where like PlayStation wants to preserve that console ecosystem because it is so important to them. They are like the go-to console for a lot of people between like Xbox and PlayStation.
And that's the only thing that's keeping Sony alive, really, because their movies suck, most of them. And it takes forever for a Spider-Man movie to come out. We got 2 of them coming out still. That got left on cliffhangers. Still, haven't seen anything about those. What does Sony have? I don't see their TVs anymore. Do people even buy TVs anymore? Or do they just get a TV and then they have it for like 10 years? Because at this point, all the new TVs are just gimmicky because everything's 4K.
Meanwhile, Nintendo just went through their own snafu with the Switch 2 launch, and they avoided the price hike on consoles. They jumped accessory prices, and we know what they're trying to do with their video games. They're banking on software sales because their software sales are crazy. So something like Mario Kart World, which doesn't look to be an $80 game, is an $80 game. Breath of the Wild, with all the upgrades combined and everything, could end up being a $90 video game. And that is a game that came out in 2017.
Unless they do price hikes again, which is entirely possible, especially if everything keeps getting bloated at the rate that it's being bloated. When they start spending $500 million, $1 billion on games, which they're starting to, I'm pretty sure GTA 6 cost $2 billion. They're going to start raising the prices of these games even more.
That is the type of economy we are in for gaming, where it went from luxury hobby to like luxury with a capital L, dude. Literally. I mean, it is kind of like an L overall. And Nintendo's managed to reportedly avoid these tariffs because they've started producing their consoles in Vietnam. But I think if we see these tariff pauses get removed and the jumps happen, I think Nintendo's going to make the jump. I think that PlayStation's going to make the jump. And Xbox just kind of said to Nintendo, like, hey, great idea. Let's just jump our prices and just pull the Band-Aid off. Everything moving forward. $80. Oh, boy. It sucks, man. And there's been a lot of like people who are angry about it, and some who have been like, well, this is just the way of the world right now. It is what it is. And this is not me getting political, but I think
if you keep saying that, if people keep saying that, that is the way it is. If everybody bands together and decides, no, this is bullshit, then they'll stop doing it. But that's not the way it's going to happen because people are stupid and people are terminal consumers. They got to consume everything. They have such a terminal case of FOMO that it's killing everything. The fear of missing out is leading to missing out on good things because they're just not being created. Because people can't control their impulses.
Even if like you support the tariffs or you support this vision of the economy, I think just the reality is it's just as simple as like seeing massive price increases like this does blow. And as I discussed earlier in this video, and I discussed in previous videos before that, and especially on Defining Duke, because we talk a lot about the economy of the industry there, like, this was always going to happen when we saw those tariffs. Like, games as a whole has so few distribution partners, and these major platform holders get to kind of dictate the whole scene. And so, yeah, it was always going to be passed on to the consumer. But look, like, as someone who has enrolled in the ID at Xbox program, for example, to like start
Indie prices aren't going up, I'll tell you that. I'm just gonna stick to retro and indie games. For real. Like, not even gonna be able to buy any AAA games. Ever, probably. Because they don't usually drop in price, especially from companies like Activision and Ubisoft. Their games are still like full price.
looking at getting our game published. I bring this up because like they literally have like a section where it's like, what do you want to price your game at? It's like, it's your choice. So I think at the end of the day, what people should do, like, what is my response plan to this? Number one is pay attention to games and companies like Sandfall and Expedition 33. Companies can make that choice.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of new breakout games, breakout developers who are just going to embarrass these quadruple A companies.
To budget their game in the right ways and give you a fair price and give you that great feeling of like, man, I'm kind of stealing from you. This is such a good game. And because the industry is so funny in this way, it's like, well, I want to go out and buy merch now. I end up spending more than the game's price on other stuff surrounding it. Like, I've been looking at this Expedition 33 hoodie with the rose petals and a 33 on it. It's awesome. It's at the IGN store. It's like, I want to check that stuff out. So it always works in this weird way where I think you end up spending more money anyway. At least in my experience, where I'm just like, man, I really ripped you off. I gotta make this right.
Right? Exactly. If they make something and everybody really loves it, they can make merch and other things, movies, shows. That's what they tried to do with Concord, but they thought that it was going to be a success before they even put it out. That's why that failed. No, you release a cool product and release other cool products. I'm going to buy everything around that product. I'm going to buy all the merch. So much Elder Scrolls merch that I've paid for over the years. So much Fallout merch. Borderlands merch. I didn't just buy the games. I bought everything around them because I loved them. I don't really do that anymore. Stardew Valley was the last game that I bought extra stuff for. I bought the board game.
But I would pay attention to these AA games, indie games especially, because they have the best chance to really start stealing the show now. Rubs hands menacingly. Indie devs have the chance to steal the show now, because the reality is that they run much smaller budgets than any of these games, but they have the ability to take over like any of these high-priced games.
All they gotta do is just make like PS2 era games, but with modern graphics. That's all they gotta do. Just make them look like modern times. Not modern as in like what these AAA, quadruple A companies do, where they're like, oh, we're making this game for the modern audience. Not that kind of modern. I mean like actual modern with like how good the graphics are.
They just don't have the marketing capability, but word of mouth is everything. Look at, again, this is a big example, but look at Oblivion Remastered. That was a complete word of mouth marketing campaign. Complete, like a leak campaign that did a lot of heavy lifting, but 4 million players for just a game that just shadow dropped is incredible. So yeah, like I think indies can really rise up. I think in the terms of like,
this is a case where you can brag about 4 million players. Assassin's Creed Shadows, remember when they bragged about 4 million players like it was an accomplishment?
Consoles and what you buy, it's one of those things where, like, secondhand is where I usually go anyway. But it's weird because like I'm happy I pre-ordered a Switch 2 now because I feel these prices are going to go up, and the cheapest time to buy a Switch 2 is probably like right now, and that's a crazy thought to have. You know, that's such a shame, but it's the world we live in now, I guess. So
that's going to push more and more people to buy things on launch rather than wait. Because if the chances of the thing that you want going up in price increases, then people are going to be more likely to buy on release because that's going to be the cheapest time to get it. And I think that companies are going to take advantage of this.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on what's going on with Xbox and these price hikes. It is a really, really strange time, but I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts down below. How do you feel about the price jumps? $80 Xbox games, fire away. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.
We're gonna make games $70 on release. My game I'm gonna release $70. You guys can buy it $70 because after the first 2 weeks, it's gonna get raised to 80. After a year, we're gonna raise it to 90. All right? So if you guys want this game, cheapest that you can get it, it's gonna be on sale day one, $70. And people will eat that shit up and complain about it at the same time. A lot of idiots won't see what's actually happening, that they're doing this on purpose because they know people will just buy day one if it's cheaper on day one. This is bad. This is really bad. Alright, Steam and GOG. Looks like you're getting all of my money. Especially GOG. GOG, good old games. They just released Breath of Fire 4. Exclusive. I think I'm gonna be buying that. Get you a t-shirt down there in the description. There are my own designs. I worked really hard on them. I'm out.